Right, okay, folks, welcome to another Nice and Nasty. This is episode 21, I think. Can't believe I've never actually had this guy on the podcast. Though, to be fair, I think I did ask him to come on about a year ago, and he kept, yep, I'll come on. It's my old mate, Mr. Dave, Lawnboyspost. How the bloody hell are you, mate? It's been way too long.
It has, sir. It has. I believe, sir, you asked me to come on and then you never messaged me the link the next day.
I will double check that. I don't believe that for one thing, but yeah, touche.
That's the story I'm sticking to.
How the hell are you anyway, mate? I mean, it's been, you know what, we're like two mates who we don't have to communicate on a regular basis. You can go for a year, and then when you do catch up, it's like you've never not been catching up. We always do the Christmas special, and I can't remember. I think I was having a bit of shit time. I can't actually. I do roughly remember. I was having a bit of crap time, and I think I had to kind of cancel it at the last minute. Because we were going to do it, and all going well, we will resume. We'll get back for next year, because I do miss that. It's part of tradition.
It's my home on Christmas Eve.
It is, and I know you're a massive fan of Christmas, and that is part of it. It's interesting when I do these live streams. I mean, my kind of channel has changed an awful lot over the last few years. I've become inherently lazy. I make very, very, very few videos these days. It tends to be Friday Waffle, Sunday live stream, and I'll put out the occasional video. But it always amazes me when people say, because do you ever get a situation? Do you ever get sometimes when you're making a video, or we'll talk about YouTube when you're making a video, and you're in the middle of recording it, and then you just think, what am I doing? This is absolute shit. Who's interested in watching this? And I sometimes get that self-realization when I'm doing live streams, and I kind of come off at the end of it, and I say, right, thanks for watching, blah, 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 blah. And I just think that was fucking garbage. Not the people watching it. I just think what I have just delivered is crap, and people will say, no, that was great. Really,
I was going to say, you not notice that whenever you feel like that, you always find out afterwards that the people watching have a completely different realization of what you just did.
Yeah, and I think sometimes and it's not because I want praise, but I think I sometimes just need sort of verification or confirmation that I'm not wasting my time, because I'm not going to sit and do something for the sake of doing it, because that's a kind of pointless thing. But people will say Sunday night 7 till 9. It's a tradition, and I think that's fucking mental. It's mental that I am a tradition in some people's lives, But why do you think? What is it about tradition that we feed off as human beings? There's something nice about routine.
Routine is comfort.
Yeah,
comfort is familiarity.
I suppose. Do you think it's? I mean, routine can be, you have to get up for work on a Monday morning, which is routine, which I hate. I still get, doesn't matter what job I've been in, I still get that horrible, sickly, nervous, it's Sunday night and I've got work tomorrow. But I think routine, or whatever it is, if it's a nice thing, then you might be having a shit time at work, you could be having a really bad time in a relationship, whatever, but and I'm just going to use my channel for example, that at 7 o'clock till 9 on a Sunday, you're going to see this fucking arsehole playing games, and that's that's going to happen, unless of course I forget or whatever. But that's going to happen. It's an interesting thing that routine
is your mindset as well, because if it's your free time, if it's your day off, then your mindset is already more open to the fact that you're probably going to enjoy it more so than if I got to work tomorrow, I got to cram this in. Do you know what I mean? It's Saturday night. I've got nothing to do tomorrow. I'm going to watch my favourite person do this. They already approach it in a much better, more positive mood, and it's something that they like and enjoy anyway that they're used to. So it's essentially it's TV when you were a kid.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's yeah. It's an interesting
My
point
favorite
because
thing, my favorite podcast ever,
uh,
it's become so ingrained into me on a. It's you ever watch Friday Night Tights?
Friday night
Tights.
tight is that is that a TV program or a podcast
It's a
or is it
podcast,
new?
but it's a whole bunch of YouTube. It's just I just love
No,
it because
no.
it's all about pop culture, comic books, movies, and stuff like that. And also
Oh, right,
they
right.
rip apart woke culture, which is always fun to watch. But that's
Yeah.
like I have the exact same thing. I watch yours, but because theirs is on Friday, I watch yours Saturday, not live. I'm sorry to say that out loud, but it's just Friday Night Tights. I have to watch live, and it's like it's something which is it's a Friday night.
Yeah,
That's it for the week. It's all good for the
yeah.
next 3 days. I'm in a positive mood. Let's watch something I like. 3.5 hours of this. So
And is it
first of all,
purely?
do you know what? If you ever feel halfway through, which is why am I doing this? I just say do it anyway, because more often than not, you'll be surprised at the response you get for it. Because otherwise, why do you have the subscription level you do?
Yeah. No, no, I know. I suppose you must be.
I
You
ate a
must be
beef
good.
madras the other day, and it got 900 views in a week.
I was going to ask actually. Yeah, I mean, you're still doing your foodie Fridays. What is? I get ridiculed on a regular basis when I mention this food. When we go into B&M or one of your local cheapo food emporiums, I love B&M
I
and
love
farm.
B&M. B&M's my favourite
Yeah,
store.
and you also love the what's it, the world, not world
Iceland.
buffet, what's it called? The ice, it's the giant store for Iceland. World, what's it called
Well,
again? World
Iceland
food,
Warehouse Store, is it?
I, World warehouse or something it's called.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the
it's
big one.
a
They go in
gigantic.
and
Yeah,
shout and it echoes. It's fantastic.
yeah. I've discovered their TGI Friday range,
Oh, that's pretty fucking awesome as well.
which is really nice. But anyway, this food, this used to be a staple diet of 1970s UK. Um, I'm convinced they must have shrunk the size because my entire family, which consisted of my mum, dad, me, and my two sisters, there was five of us. We used to have one of these between us, and I loved it. And anytime I mention it to a certain girlfriend, she goes, "Oh, you're not eating that. It's like dog food." And it's the free Bentley steak and kidney pie. Are you a fan of that?
Oh, do you know what? I did a Fat Friday on Frey Bentos, and I hadn't had one in ages. And I bought their all day breakfast pie, and I couldn't get into it. I ended up, if you go back after this, watch my Frey Bentos all day breakfast pie because I show it in the video. I ended up buying 4 different tin openers just to find one that would get me in that bad.
What kind of tin opener are you using?
I bought that who's that Italian chef Gino the
Oh, the Campo.
that's it yeah
You-
it's
Just as a just as a little segue, do you know the relationship between him and what ties him in with Paul Young, who sung "Wherever I Lay My Hat"? What is the connection between
he's
Gino
now
De
got
Campo
the
and
hat.
Paul Young? What's that?
I said he's now got the hat.
Nope. You'll never get it. Gino De Campo, whatever his name
Married
was.
to his sister.
No, he was charged with breaking in and stealing, breaking into Paul Young's house before he became famous, and apparently stole a lot of. Was it Stacey? That was his wife. He stole a lot of Stacey's belongings, and Paul Young wanted them back. But yeah, Gino De Campo was charged with breaking and entering Paul Young's
Is that
house.
where he learned to cook?
There
Prison.
you, there you go.
Well, hits him
I think that.
was shit. The one that I bought from we have a store here in the West Country called Proper Job. Best name ever for a hardware store. And the £1 tin opener I bought from there was the only one that can make a dent on the Frey Bentos. But no, see, they're tiny now. They used to be like you could wear them as body armor and invade another country when we were kids. But
So they must have been bigger because this thing I can eat one of them myself.
yeah,
No problem at all. And it's a double bonus because the dogs also then get to lick the tin. But you need to top tip, make sure the tin is not roasting hot because the
the
dogs
best
will
bit
try and
about
eat
them though
it.
is like that's what I love as well. Because I remember it as a kid, it fascinated me. Which is what you're going to put it in the oven like that. It's just like take the top off, bang it in the oven. Job's a good
So
one.
it's yeah, I mean it does resemble dog food. fucking brilliant though. I mean, it tastes nothing like a steak pie.
No,
It's like
it's got a
my
beef
favorite.
content of like 12%.
My favourite bit is the kind of goo
Oh,
underneath the kind of crisp.
I
It's
see.
like,
See, we should do a stream on this fucking food we ate when we were kids. Um, I'm telling you, but I was arguing with a friend, and we had a Fray Bentos around our house, and she was going like, "Oh, the top's amazing," and he goes, "But I took it off, and then there's all this goo underneath it. Oh, I'm not sure about that." I said, "How dare you talk bad about the goo? The goo is the best bit, because it is." You get that crispy bit last, and you get the layer of goo, and then you get your 12% beef. What more do you want
I
in
mean,
life?
the goo is neither pastry nor is it meat. So I don't quite know what
No,
it is, but
there's
it's
some sort of
that.
separation there. I
It
think
is.
it's obviously pastry that doesn't cook, but the thing is, I've never met anyone who's managed to do a Fray Bentos pie for that bit to cook. So it's
No,
clearly designed to be goo.
and that is the best. But yeah, so I actually bought one about 2-3 weeks ago, and I didn't have the nerve to tell her that I'd eaten it because she was disowning me. But yeah,
The
I'm
look of
glad I wanted
disgust
to.
on her face.
Yeah, you are to the cheapo foods what Stuart Ashens is to
Look,
like
dude.
cat.
I like
Uh,
the idea of someone going out of their way to make an idea that's so specific. No other supermarket carries it. It just floats my boat. It's so
have you,
specific, in fact, that I'm the only person who enjoys it and likes it, and therefore it gets discontinued in 6 months.
what gets discontinued in 6 months?
Everything I like in Iceland.
Oh, you're joking! Ah, seriously?
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Um,
Wait, is it just like kind of short term? Is it a bit like the sort of they put out these flavoured crisps for like euro 90,
I don't
euro
know. Some of
30?
it's limited edition, like
Yeah.
really hot curries, like the Carolina Reaper. But like TGI Fridays had a whole heap of stuff that got discontinued in there. Um, they're pound. I guess they just bang it out there. If it doesn't sell, get rid of it. But it's
Mm.
just it's sod's law that if something's not going to sell, then I guarantee be the product that I like. My palate
So,
is refined, sir.
it's interesting how when I wonder how they actually like they bring out like a flavoured crisp or whatever, and then they just decide to stop making it. It's the same with like discos. I'm not a fan of discos, but my daughter loves the cheese and onion ones. The problem is they only sell them in like you get the salt and vinegar, you get bloody prawn cocktail and cheese and onion. So only a third of them are eaten. Um,
So you
you
got to
can buy.
train her. Like when I was a kid, my parents
Uh,
would train us, which is you eat the crap flavors first, and then the good flavors are like a dessert.
you've got so like the prawn cocktails, like the vegetables, the salt and vinegar is the meat, and then the jelly and ice cream is the cheese and onion.
Exactly. It's all psychosomatic.
Yeah,
I
you've got
reckon
to
they look at they go,
earn
fucking hell,
the
Lawnboyspost has reviewed this product, discontinue it.
right. See that's the thing. I mean, it would pay them to actually provide food. I mean, you should be sponsored by Iceland. You know, there's no two ways about it. Would you ever approach them and say that you actually do reviews on food, or is
Uh,
that something you'd ever think about doing?
well, see, now that we have, for the last 2 years, we've had something in the middle of my food videos called the window rant. I don't know if they'd be quite open to me reviewing their products. A little segment where because I'm working nights, I also let's have a look at the weather because it's like what you said, which is anyone going to watch this? When I didn't do a window rant
Yeah.
one week, a bunch of people said, "Hey, where's the fucking window rant?" Yeah, I look to the garden and go, this weather's this, which is blah blah blah, and I'm upset because I have to work nights. Anyway, interesting things that I found this week, and I just reel off a fact about something that I found out that week from the news and have a rant about it. So yeah, but quite colourful language. So I think Iceland's already go, yeah, no, not doing that.
So what is in your and I mean you've been doing the Foodie Friday for a good number of years. Is it about 3 years now? Is it?
4 years. I'm 9 videos away from 200 videos.
Bloody hell!
That's
What
a
would you
lot of
say?
calories, my friend.
It certainly is. Aye. What is probably your favourite that you've actually tasted? Have you got a favourite?
Um, Most memorable is the Carolina Reaper chili curry because I ate it twice. I did a revisit video, and I think I called it "Is it as hot as I remember?" Spoiler alert: yes. Fucking hell.
And has there been anything that you've tried and you've just like spat it out?
TGI, and I guarantee this will be discontinued in the Iceland TGI Friday range. They've got a stuffed base pizza, right? And basically all the toppings are in the base, and then it's got cheese above the base. I know it sounds like, well, you mean it's basically the reverse pizza.
It's like instead of having so you've got the dough at the bottom, and then
it's
most
basically
pizzas
a round flat calzone with a layer.
Right. So it's all the stuffing is inside the doughy base.
Yeah.
Right. You say it's a calzone pizza. Yeah,
I'll sum that up for you. Shit.
So yeah. So what is actually in the base? What can you?
The most, what is it with me? If you ever get a barbecue pizza from a supermarket and it's made to cost, right? This is going to sound weird. Hopefully someone understands where I'm coming from. Cheap barbecue sauce has a kind of chemically Dr. Pepper taste about it.
Right. The only barbecue sauce that I've tasted, I mean, Eva will occasionally get like chicken nuggets or whatever it is from McDonald's.
Oh no, that's what I call decent barbecue sauce. But when it's and I mean it's like barbecue sauce with meat, it just tastes synthetic and it tastes like it's got a bit. But long story short, right? You don't even have to watch the video. Never eat that. It's disgusting, and its cooking instructions don't work either. I had to pick fucking tin foil off it for 10 minutes. Didn't want to get an electric shock with my fillings.
And are we talking about that pizza thing?
You have to put it in the oven. You have to put who fucking if your production company says this should have been the warning, the red flag. If your production company says put your pizza in the oven and put a piece of tin foil over it, very likely. Who fucking cooks pizza like that? And so I pulled it off. You can see it in the video. I pulled it off, and there it was. All these beautiful shreds of silver stuck to the top of this pizza. I don't know what it stuck to because the cheese on top had long since evaporated.
Right, what is the name of that? I need to watch that video. I want to watch it.
I'll send you a link. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, send me the link so I can watch that.
Yeah, you'll feel my disappointment. It really comes through the camera on that one.
So, do you is it the giant Iceland that you go to?
Food warehouse, that's it. Iceland food warehouse.
Food warehouse, yeah. It's actually pretty good. It's probably one of the kind of, and the thing is, my girlfriend, she is extremely fussy when it comes to food. She doesn't buy pre-made sauces, even things like mayonnaise. She'll make her own mayonnaise and all that, but she says that the chicken you get out of Iceland is really good. Like, apparently the guy that owns it is very, very quite particular about where he gets his chicken. So that's a top tip or a recommendation. The Iceland chicken pieces and that what have you are actually pretty good bits of meat. So do you go in? How often do you go in there?
I go in there once a week, but nothing to do with having a series of videos or eat food. I genuinely love Iceland. Plus, also, you can buy, in the big one, you can buy all your regular groceries there as well now, can't you? Because Iceland literally just used to be freezers, but the big ones are chilled and ambient in grocery. But yeah, and literally I just walk around and literally go, oh my God, that looks like either the greatest thing in the world or the stupidest idea ever. I need to know what it's like. And that's it. And because they're such a great place, it's like they scooped the inside of my head out and made it their itinerary. More often than not, at least once a week, they've got something. I'll give you a spoiler for this Friday's. It's a chili dog pizza. So it's got chili beef on the top, red peppers, green peppers, jalapenos, and in its crust is a hot dog going all the way around. Only Iceland.
Fantastic. And who makes that? Is that
Iceland's own?
I'll need to watch out for that one. So see if you get a particular bit of fast food that you love will you then jump in the car and go down and buy like 10 of them?
Yeah, because I know they'll
Yeah,
get discontinued. Oh yeah, I've still got
yeah.
I don't know 3 more Carolina Reaper curries in my freezer.
And do you get to a point where you're like, oh, I've kind of had enough of them now?
Well, no, because the problem with we've got a chest freezer, and so obviously it's so big, it's in the shed. But the problem with the chest
Yeah.
freezer is it's got like a fossilization effect going on. If you put food on the top, you're good. There's your food for the week. If you don't get to it a week, it kind of goes down a layer, and then
And then you'll
and then
never.
before you know it, if you've gone 3 weeks over, then the third layer is now the Jurassic layer, and you'll never see it again.
Yeah, you only get it when you're actually defrosting. Not that anyone defrosts freezers right enough nowadays, but yeah, I know what you mean. You find stuff like chicken that's got that as an
We do.
iceberg.
We have to defrost our freezer every time it gets hot because I filled it up with so much pointless shit.
Oh, that'll be a can of juice getting home, even though I can't
Yeah.
actually see you.
Sorry.
Right. Anyway, listen, we better crack on with the actual pot. I mean, we've kind of done a nice and nasty with food. But now we're going to turn it round to video games. You know the script. Call it what you want. Call it Desert Island Games, whatever. The government has outlawed all video games, but you're allowed to pick 3. It can be anything at all that you want. If it's an online game, there are going to be people on the other side of the world that you can play with. You know, Wi-Fi's there, whatever. Yeah, and then obviously the other side, the sort of nasty part of it. In fact, that should be nice and nice, because nice you get to pick 3 games that you love, and nice because you get to eradicate 3 games that are complete dog shit.
Basically,
Anyway,
I win on
yeah.
both counts.
It's been called a nice and nasty for 21 episodes. I'm not going to change the title now. So anyway, yeah, game number 1. What would you take to whatever said Desert Island, and why?
Right. Well, this might sound boring, but I noticed that I kind of stuck mainly to 2 consoles for both camps. One for
That's
the good
absolutely
and
fine.
one, yeah. And I guess that's a testament to how good that console was, or bad, and how much I enjoyed it, or didn't. First game is Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation.
I think you're not the first person to pick that game as one of
Hands
their
down
top
my
choices.
favourite game of all time, and that's hands down my favourite version of it.
Yeah, the original PlayStation one.
Yeah.
What is it about the game?
It's just a perfect package. There was nothing like it at the time. I mean, I like Bond movies and stuff like that, and spy movies, and it was just every element of that. You hadn't seen this level of stealth, sneaking around, genuinely intelligent artificial intelligence, a massive amount of weapons, an absolutely fantastic story with characters you genuinely cared about, and it was the game that made me think, I don't want CGI cutscenes anymore. Have an amazing game engine and do it with the engine. And Metal Gear Solid did that. It was just, so many different elements, so like variation, and like you had a sniper level. You had just like the boss level where you're fighting on top of Metal Gear. The characters introduced, like when I can't remember what the ninja now was called, because they're all members of Foxhound, aren't they? And you have the scene where he's killing all the people down the corridor. You fight Psycho Mantis. What video game ever before had you fight a telepathic person, and he could read all your moves, and so you had to pull your control. Sorry, people, spoilers. You had to pull your control pad out and stick it in the other port. And and then he would tell you he can't read your moves, and he'd also read your game saves off your memory card if they were Konami games.
Seriously,
Yeah. I cannot express, like, it was utterly fantastic. But there's another side to it which made it utterly amazing. Was I remember the build up to it, and just seeing in magazines,
Edge magazine,
like, look at this game, it's so advanced, it's got 2 game engines running at the same time. So you got your third person and your first person, even though you couldn't move in first person. And yeah, the controls are believably tight. It's like, and I don't mean it's like a quick time event, but it was like literally playing a movie.
Yeah.
And graphically, even though it got that kind of, pixelated thing going on with the textures and stuff like that, dithering, I believe is what the kids call it. Graphically, it was absolutely fantastic. And the voice acting. Oh.
Yeah, It
David
was proper.
Hayter.
Yeah, proper voice acting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and all the Easter eggs in it, like, and because it's Japanese, it had a little bit of a pervy Easter egg as well, which is obviously if you chase Meryl quickly enough, dressed as a bad guy, and ran into the women's toilet quickly enough, she'd be standing there without her trousers on. Well done, Japan.
And
Um,
did you actually unlock that Easter egg?
well, yeah, because I wanted every single Easter egg unlocked.
Ah, right.
Because
Did you
I'm a
discover?
completionist, not a pervert. But yeah, I can't. I just like games come
Uh,
along, and I mean, like Quake before this blew me away, and Doom blew me away, and stuff like that. But some games just come along and literally just go, "Oh, look at all these people saying they got good games." Leans forward and just says, "Hold my beer," and you're like,
uh,
"Yes." It's one of those games that when you beat it, and I beat it so many times, I still beat it at least once a year on the PlayStation and on the GameCube, um, which is like when it first came along, you first beat it, it was almost like well, there's no point buying anything because it's not going to. It's just not going to be as good as that
hmm
in every department, visually or because the music's amazing. Easter eggs. I mean, like control and remote control missiles around a maze to blow up an electric floor. I take it you played it.
I I've got an extremely short span of attention, and I remember my mate buying it, and because it was like the best game ever, and what I watched him playing it, and I tried it initially, and I just kind of I didn't get bored. I just thought, oh, it's too difficult for me. I'm not very good at games. But yeah, I used to enjoy watching him playing. I mean, the things that I can remember about the game. I mean, it was as you say, it was an interactive movie. The thing I can remember, like there was no other video game that I can recall where you could see the guy's breath when it was
Yeah,
cold. You
footprint.
could see, I mean, it was
If
it was
you
like, you
got
know,
wet, you get a cold and give away your position.
yeah. I mean, it's as you say. I don't think the PlayStation has aged particularly well. Yes, but you look at like something like Tomb Raider now; it looks fucking awful. Um, but for its time, I mean, when did that come out? Probably '95 or something.
I think
It
it's
was mind.
98.
Oh, was it? Was it as late as that? Was it? Yeah. It was. It was mind blowing. It really, really was.
I
It was like
beat. I know. I got an import. I say an import. There was a bloke down the road selling hooky games, and I bought the Japanese version because I just remember all the previews of it, and I remember seeing the magazine stationary shots, and my brain just couldn't wrap up. What is this game? And they were telling you
yeah.
about the little bits of the story and stuff that you're Solid Snake, and you're retired special forces and you're coming back to is it Outer Haven, and technically it's the third game in a series of games that go back to the MSX and stuff, and it was giving me all this history, and like I could not wrap my head
Yeah.
around what this game was. And this guy, when I called him, said, "Yeah, I got the Japanese version. I mean, yeah, you can have it, but good luck, with whatever the fuck what you're doing." And I was like, I don't care. I need to see it. And so I think I scraped my way to level 3 in Japanese, not understanding the cutscenes or anything, with a little bit of help from GameFAQs. And yeah, just like I had to see it, and yeah, that just wet my whistle. And then when a couple of weeks, or maybe a couple of months later, he said, "Hey, do you remember that game you really wanted, Metal Gear Solid? I got the American version if you want it." Like literally, Roadrunner smoke came off my feet, and the phone fell to the floor. And yeah, I
I
love
mean,
it.
it was.
Like to
Yeah.
purchase quotation fingers an alleged backup of Metal Gear Solid, please.
I mean, I think. In fact, I think that the original PlayStation game goes for quite a few quid now. Actually, it's very, very collectible.
I've got an original one now, but my original one is PAL.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what one is. I did see somebody on eBay is selling these. In fact, what the hell was it? I can't remember what game it was. And he was wanting. I think it was a Sega Saturn game, and he was wanting £2,200 for it. And he had like other stuff that he's selling, and I'm sure Metal Gear Solid, the original for the PlayStation, was one of them. But yeah, I mean, you knew that you were getting something special because I'm sure did it come on at least 2 discs,
Yeah.
which CD was the future back in the sort of mid '90s.
What's that?
So for a
1,500
game,
combined 1,500 megs.
exactly for a game to come in 2 CDs, holy fuck! Uh, that was just
What's
mental.
that?
But
1/8 Blu-ray.
Something like that. Is it 700 meg per disc?
Yeah,
I think
I'll
it
tell you what. Anyone out there is thinking, hey, I'll buy the, the remastered, re-released. Well, it's not remastered. The re-released version, or anniversary edition for PlayStation 5 and Xbox. Yeah, don't. It's a price gouge and it's shit.
really?
Yeah, I only wanted. You can buy it in individual components. So, and it's not got Metal Gear Solid. Oh no, it has got Metal Gear Solid 2 on it. But it's going to be another one. But the point is, I only wanted to get the original Metal Gear Solid, and I just assumed they were going to do like another version. I loved this game so much back in the day. I bought it on the PC a year or so later because it used GL or Glide, so it was all smoothed out and super lovely. And it gave you a proper first person view. So like I loved it so much. So I thought they were gonna, if you're gonna put like a anniversary edition of original Metal Gear Solid, on modern consoles, surely it's the version that's like 3D effects up and stuff like that. No, it's the original PlayStation version. And also,
really?
Unless you specify when you buy it, you have to specify if you want the NTSC version. I didn't, so I bought the PAL version. Why are you even selling the PAL version? But yeah, I just tried to go into that because, like I said, greatest game of all time, and like it's the perfect example of how you botch an anniversary of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's been quite a few. I don't know how many Metal Gear Solid games there's been. There's been a few. There's been a lot on the PlayStation. You should, by the way, you should. I don't know if you listen to any of these podcasts. You should look for. I can't remember what one it is. I'll send you the link to it because it's my mate Panther. I'm sure he picked Metal Gear Solid as one of his favourite games. So you might want to listen just to see what he has to say about the game. But I saw it. Was it the original? How was the sequels? Were they just as good?
Metal Gear Solid 2 is absolutely amazing, but it's one of those games you appreciate it a lot more as well. I was an adult then, as an even older adult with a break of 10 years, because at the time, it looked phenomenal. It was probably one of the best looking games on the PlayStation 2. It was one of those games where I bought Zone of the Enders on the PlayStation 2. I didn't want it. I never played it, but I bought it for the one level playable demo of Metal Gear Solid 2. But I remember. You only play Snake for the first mission, and then you become someone completely different. You become Raiden, who's basically a younger version of Snake, an emu with eye makeup. And I'm like, and everyone else at the time was like, what the fuck? But when you go back to it, revisit it, and ignore that fact and play it, it's a phenomenal game. Didn't like Metal Gear Solid 3. Didn't really need the introduction. Loads of people go on about how great it is. Didn't really need the introduction of having to eat.
I've never tried any of the later ones.
And then 4 I've never played because I never owned a PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5, I played 3/4 of it, but then gave up because I felt they fucked over Hideo because him and Sony fell out, didn't they? And it doesn't actually have a proper ending.
Right.
And I played the first 2 on the MSX.
Oh, did you? Did you actually go back and play them? Yeah.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, even though they're like 8-bit sprite stuff, although the MSX in the right hands was quite tasty, wasn't it?
It was, definitely.
If you go back and play it, and then you go forward and play Metal Gear Solid, you're like, oh my god, all this stuff in this game that you think is groundbreaking and like state of the art, and like, it's all stuff that's in the original game.
They were doing it in like 1984 or
whatever.
Yeah,
it's just they just managed to implement it into a 3D environment. All the stuff is in that game and stuff. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So obviously you're picking a game that you've completed. Why do you want to take it to the desert island?
Well, here's the other thing about this game. Very few games I can complete that many times and still take from it. I mean, obviously the first time has all the surprises and the twists and stuff like that, which you'll never repeat. But very few games I can just play, and I've done it on all difficulty settings to get all the Easter eggs and stuff. I can play again and again and again, and it's just as rewarding an experience as it was the first time, bar, spoilers. But, I can't explain it. Like that's definitely why. You can stick me on a desert island. I got Metal Gear Solid. Well, I'm still on a desert island, so I'm still fucked. But at least I got Metal Gear Solid.
So it's a bit like you're Back to the Future or your favourite album. you enjoy the experience. It's nothing to do with, oh, I want to see what happens at the end. You know that you enjoy it, and it's just playing it. You get a lot of satisfaction. I'm the same with like Resident Evil 4. I have played that on so many systems, and I know exactly what happens in every single level, but I still enjoy it. So I totally get that. Totally get that. So yeah, like I said, I'm sure Panther picked that one as well. You can double check. So anyway, game number 2.
Now, it's kind of, this is what I said about the same console, and it might sound like a boring choice of games, but there was a period in PlayStation, or as I like to call it, PlayStation Town, where there was just a run of games that were just showing you how amazing this machine was in the right hands.
Yeah.
And just, again, replayability, but another game that came along and just said to everyone else, even though it was a sequel, hold my beer. I'm going to show all you, punks out there how we make a game. And that's Resident Evil 2.
Okay.
Second favourite game of all time.
So that was the one where you start off with the police station, is it?
Yeah. The two discs, 2 campaigns. They cross over. Leon, Claire, the rookie cop. With the most 90s haircut you've ever seen. That was just, again, I could play it again and again and again. And as I said with Metal Gear, like the twists, the turns, although the jump scares still get you because that's the nature of a jump scare. But I could play it again and again and again. I just it's someone who loved zombie movies as a kid and still does, but hasn't been a decent zombie movie for years. Someone who absolutely loves and adores zombie movies. I never really liked the first Resident Evil. I never really liked it. I think I'm not alone in that. And then all I know about Resident Evil 2 was that piqued my interest about it was this game was coming out. It was going to be set in a city, and George A. Romero was doing the commercial for it in Japan. And he
Really?
did. So if you look it up on YouTube, the original Biohazard 2 commercial in Japan was directed by George A. Romero. And
I wish they'd stuck with the name Biohazard there.
It does exactly what it says on the tin, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Which is something nasty turned all these people into zombies. Resident Evil just sounds like, I don't know, a particularly nasty bloke living in a stately mansion. But another one of those games was when it. I think the same with the first one on this. It's the experiences that lead up to it that ingrain it into your brain and become part and parcel of the experience, if that makes sense. But I remember it was coming out. My PlayStation was chipped, and I went to Canada on holiday with my mates. I've got a nostalgic memories of Resident Evil 2 video, actually, where I talk about this little story. And I knew it was coming out, and I was really, really, my interest was piqued because, like, the first one to me was just, you're in a mansion. Nah. But if you're in a city and it's zombies and it's all Romero, I'm sold. And so I was in Toronto. It was in winter, oddly enough, and we had to go to my friend's house. So they were both going to work. It was an apartment building, and we could babysit their kid for a day because they had no one else to babysit it. And I was there, and this guy just went, "Oh, I got that new game, Resident Evil 2." He goes, "You can play it. Just take my memory card out and don't save it because I will kill you." And I was like, "Yeah." So I played it, and it was just like, even though I couldn't save it, I was a little bit underwhelmed because I couldn't save it because I felt like I didn't want to invest time in it. But I played it and I just went, this is on a whole different level from the first game. And the running through the city at the start was like, this is literally what I want from zombies in a video game. Downtown zombies and stuff like that. Obviously, you get out of that quite quickly, but you're still in the city. And it was genuinely terrifying. I mean, you look at it now and you like the kind of weird 3D, very pixelated textures on the 3D and stuff like that, but it was genuinely scary.
Oh, it was. I mean, it's the controls were bloody abysmal. It was like I call them.
But it added to it, didn't you think?
Well, it was. It was what it was. I mean, I remember playing the first Resident Evil, and it was mind blowing. We'd never seen a game where you got a fright. You didn't get a fright with video games. And suddenly you're playing this thing on your TV and this thing jumps out, something jumps through a window and you shat yourself.
And it was so simple. Why did no one else before that who's making like a game based on horror, think, hey, you know they got jump scares in horror movies. I see no reason why we can't put that in a video game.
Yeah, I think I believe the Resident Evil was inspired by Alone in the Dark. Do you remember that on the
Uh,
PC?
no, yes and
Yeah.
no. There's a game on the Famicom that's got an English patch now. I'm sure someone can. I always forget what it's called, but yeah, and it's by Capcom, and it's set in a mansion, and it's survival horror, but it's a Famicom game, so it's like kind of top down Zelda-ish, if that makes sense.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Oh, and the
yeah.
name's on the tip of my tongue, but fuck.
I can't remember, but yeah, I mean
But then
the
obviously they
call it.
looked at Alone in the Dark and just went, "Oh, why don't we do it in 3D, but on a machine that's not crap?"
I was at the three. Well, it was a PC. I think it
The
may came
3DO.
out
Oh, my brother had it on
the
the
three
3DO.
was
I
built.
can't stay mad at you,
Yeah, yeah.
3DO. I bought you from a charity shop.
Uh,
But
so
yeah,
what set that apart from? I mean, did you? How far did you get in the original Resident Evil?
I don't know. Gave up at the puzzle where you had to put the boxes in the water and make a bridge. I sat there. I
Yeah.
sat there watching my mates play it all the way through to the end. Like, big spider, big snake. It's all really impressive. But I'm not. I'm not
Mm.
got. It wasn't the bad voice acting because I love the bad voice acting in two. I just like it. I felt two was more rewarding, but one I was like, this looks like maybe like you on Metal Gear. I'm like, this looks like a lot of work. I play games to escape work, not to actually perform it. And yeah, and so I don't know what it
Uh,
was two. Like I said, I love Romero zombies, and then they hit the ground running at the start, and the great cutscenes and stuff like that. But I I played it solidly, and I had the great piece of fortune happened to me at the time. It may not sound like it is, but if you just start playing this game and you know how utterly amazing it was, I just got a new job at the time, and for some stupid reason, I don't know why, and I got the Resident Evil game, and then I got this new job. So I got the new job, and then the weekend before, I got the Resident Evil game, and then on the Sunday, I decided for the first time in 15 years, I was going to go for a bike ride. Don't know why. It can only be fate. And I fell off my bike and broke my wrist. And they held the job open for me for like a month, which was banging of them. But also, when I broke my wrist, they didn't bind it in such a way that my hand was tied up. So I had a month off work, Resident Evil. I just sat there and caned the living shit out of it. Beat both discs in about 3 days, and I was in the house by myself at the time, and I was
and what
playing at four
what
o'clock in the morning, and it scared the living piss out of me.
what kind of level did you play on? Like easy, beginner,
I
or
start
whatever.
see. All my mates start like when they do stuff, and especially when they do like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Always go straight for most difficult. Do you know what I do? I think it's like I want value for money. I start at the bottom and work my way through all of them,
So you start on the easiest one.
and then
Yeah.
go through. I know people could
Uh,
argue, well, you're learning all the tricks and stuff like that on the easiest difficulty level, and it's like, well, I don't know. Blame my OCD. If you want to prescribe me medicine to treat it, good for you. But I started the easiest and worked my way through all of them. And obviously, I got all
yeah.
the secrets on it. Like I said, the story in that was phenomenal. Even though the voice acting, which I say adds to its charm, the
Mhm.
story in it was absolutely phenomenal. It's like it was on a whole different level to anything at the time.
I can't remember much about the second one. I mean, I don't think I ever managed to complete the first one. No surprise there. I don't remember much about the second one. I did play it because, I mean, at that point, you're when Resident Evil the original came out, you're like, fucking hell, this is like the best game ever. Oh, bloody hell, Resident Evil 2's come out. You kept buying them. Yeah, I must have. Was that the one where you've got that sort of main baddie that kind of
With the
follows you
big
all the time?
eyeball in his. Oh, there is a guy like that.
I can't
But
remember
yeah,
that.
there's two. There's two. They did it. They double. Well, I wouldn't say double down. It's not the right phrase, but they realised that this worked, so they did the same, and then put Nemesis in 3. But yeah, you got that big guy in the tread
Aye,
forget his name.
aye.
But yeah, those bits were terrifying as well.
What's that? You know what? Actually, yeah. Fuck it. I'm sure. Yeah, they brought out a sort of an HD version of that for the PlayStation 4,
Yeah,
and
which is
yeah,
even
yeah, yeah.
scarier, believe it or not.
In fact, I'm sure you might have recommended it to me. I can't remember, but yeah, I bought that and I got really far in it. I mean, I've not played it for a couple of years, and I got to a bit. I mean, there's no spoilers as such, but I'm in this big house, and this big fucker is just constantly fucking chasing me. And it's terrifying. It's like the Terminator. You'll never let
Yeah.
go. Yeah, I did play it. Yeah, and it's actually really really good. Yeah, I couldn't remember until you mentioned that
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
I mean,
I've
like I said,
played
even though you got far more
it.
basic graphics and stuff like that, and it's
Yeah,
not like the over the shoulder view, like
yeah,
the second one's still utterly terrifying.
yeah. So you've obviously you've kind of picked two games that are kind of quite similar. You know, they're kind of movie based games. And again, is it just because you're
I
going to get
like
a
a
lot of
story.
enjoyment out?
Do you know what?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not an RPG guy. There's only one RPG I've ever played in my life and loved and adored and played it from start to end. But we'll save that for the games I'm going to throw into the sun. But I'm not an RPG guy. But when it comes to action adventure stuff, I do like a good, solid, like well thought out, well written, well constructed story where someone's like, it's not just like Call of Duty. It's like go and shoot people. Oh, and here's something that links these four events together very loosely.
Yeah.
It's like, no, here you go. Here's a fucking solid story there. Or like, the more you listen to it, the more it rewards you because you could argue that
Yeah.
you could probably beat half of it without having to listen to half the shit in it, but then you aren't
Aye.
getting that full movie experience. So that's probably why those two are definitely my favorite two games on the PlayStation. Just
Yeah.
because,
I'm in quite similar games. I mean, obviously they're different, but similar kind of. They're like they're movie based type games. So I'm interested to hear what your third game's going to be. Did what did the games that you pick affect what games you picked? If that made any sense, did you think, oh, I can't pick that because I've already picked that,
well, that's
or
what I
did you
said to you,
think,
which is it bad that they're all on the same system?
no,
And I was thinking you
you
could argue that they're a boring choice because they're all so close to each other. But like I said, to me, it was
because
just as soon as I picked that and thought about it, I'm like, well, obviously this one's next. And
yeah,
it all
because
kind of,
right now when you wake up in the morning, you think, right, I'm going to play a video game. You can either play Resident Evil 2 or you can play Metal Gear Solid. So that's your choice at the moment. So I'm interested to see what your third game is going to be.
again, it's gonna because it's PlayStation again, and it's a different type of game, but it's in that stretch where they were just hitting them out of the park. You know, where everything was just showing everything else how
Yeah,
good it was. And this is a game that if you've got a little bit of OCD like me, it's just you could argue either rewards it or it controls you. But the other game that I'd have to say would be Gran Turismo 2 on the PlayStation.
okay, yep.
Same
Sport,
sort of
yeah,
thing, which is I remember the first one, and I had a Japanese copy, and it was the first one was groundbreaking and stuff like that. But it was like just showing you how good something could be and how much better it was than everything else, but just scratching the surface of its potential. And then Gran Turismo 2 just came out and just went, hold my beer, the entire world. I'm going to show you how to do the greatest driving. It's still my favorite driving game of all time. Yes, but another example of how it looked. I mean, I think we've had a conversation about this before. One of the times I've been on Friday Waffle, which is I can still look at some old games like this, 30 years old, and go, that still looks pretty fucking good.
yep. Yeah, it might look pixely, but it's to try and it's silky smooth. And if you kind of look through it with kind of blurred eyes, you can think you're watching like a
Hold up your
VHS.
glasses before you play. Go,
Yeah, yeah. It's like watching Top Gear on a VHS tape. It's silky smooth. Yeah, it's blurred, but it looks realistic. And yeah, I mean, again, it was one of these games I never really. I actually sometimes wonder why I'm interested in games because every fucking genre of game I go, I never played that. Oh, I never played that. Oh, I never played that. I think, what the fuck did I actually play? What did I actually play in my life?
well, I wasn't going to say so, but I am starting to wonder.
Considering I'm still talking about video games 45 years on,
Yeah.
I must have played something. But yeah, getting back to Grand Theft Auto, getting back to Gran Turismo, what set that apart from the why not the first one?
Because it's like they ironed out all the creases. It's not like the first one was flawed or anything, but it was just like, well, first of all, now we've got our heads on this and how we can do it, the technology and stuff like that. Let's just give them every car they've ever wanted. Let's just make car pornography for a specific group age of males because they
Yeah,
did basically. if you watched any, and obviously it was old Top Gear then, but if you watched any car show or where they were reviewing stuff, like the Audi TT had just come out, like it was in there, and it was just nothing else looked like it. The handling was amazing. It was like RPG grinding, but in a car game. It obviously pretty much invented that.
Mm-hmm.
It's had absolutely amazing, amazing music. It was a perfect game for your mates. We used to have something called Gran Turismo Tuesday, where we'd all go around my mate Sam's house when we all lived local to each other, and then basically all get high as a kite and grind the shit out of Gran Turismo, because like we didn't cheat. It was like just like doing the same race again and again and again, just so you could buy your dream car.
Yeah.
And then everyone all of a sudden realised that, and it had Japanese cars in it, and everyone suddenly became the greatest, most knowledgeable person about what was the best Japanese import car based on this game. And everyone bought a Mitsubishi GTO and tuned the tits out of it, and then never used any other car. And it had rally, it had a rally mode in it as well. They were like, not just complete.
That's right, they did.
Yeah,
so I think I don't think the original had that, but the second one did introduce. Yeah, you used to you could race rally, so you didn't have to bother with bloody Sega Rally, because you could play it on their PlayStation.
Yeah, and the great thing about rally was, because the track was completely enclosed, there was a track that you could use, and you'd get I can't remember, was it the Psychovic Pix? I can't remember. There was a car in it. It looked like a dune buggy. It had a big fuck off wing on its roof. And if you were lazy and you wanted to grind to get money on this one track, all you'd have to do, because that car was so phenomenally quick, was just hold your hand on accelerator, nothing else. And then you could do something else entirely, and it would just hit the outside of the track, but go around so fast with the track guiding it that you'd still beat everyone else.
Got you, yeah. You could sellotape the accelerator button.
I just remember like grinding and grinding and grinding, and then all of a sudden, like the elation, which is, got enough money, lads. What we gonna buy? Bearing in mind that I own this game, so it's not a democracy.
Do you think? I mean, it wasn't. We were never going to own cars like that in real life. Do you think there was a small part of?
Oh, definitely. I was gonna, you know it.
This car, you kind of felt like you were getting to drive it, because I mean, previous to Grand Theft, I keep saying Grand Theft. Previous to Gran Turismo, it was
the Ridge Racers.
It was arcade racers, Ridge Racers and what have you, and that was all fine and dandy. But this was like driving a real car. I mean, you had to fucking get a driving license, for God's sake.
Yeah, but the thing is, as annoying as they were, the driving licenses did exactly what they said on the tin. They actually taught you, right, look, we're not just doing this to be annoying, but you need to know the apex here. And you're like, and like you said, never going to be able to afford this car. Like, and it's funny, it's like never meet your heroes. And I mean, I've never driven a real one of these, but you're like, oh my God, they got a Jaguar XJ220 in it. So ground all the shit out of the game, so we got enough money to get it. We bought the Jaguar XJ220, and then we drove it for 2 races and went, this is a bit of shit and I can't win in it, and never used it again.
I mean, it was, again, it's for people that are, that were born about 20 years ago or 30 years ago, whatever, they probably don't understand what the fuss is about. But, bear in mind, 5 years before this, you were playing things like Lotus Turbo Challenge on the Amiga or Mega Drive, which is a fantastic game, but it's to compare, like, it's got more in common with Outrun rather than this real thing. And it was absolutely, your jaw hit the floor when you saw this. You're like, fucking hell, this is the most incredible game. And I think as well, magazines really hyped all these games. You'd buy Edge magazine, even though Edge is so pretentious, fucking it's so far up its own backside, it's a pile of complete wank. But if it had a game, they would get really excited about a game, and you would read all the previews and see all the screenshots of this game, and it's like, oh fucking hell! And you'd go along to the local pirate market, and then you'd say, oh, I'm getting Gran Turismo next week. You're like, oh, can't get my £5 along and get a copy of it. It was mind blowing. And I mean, obviously, that set the kind of template for your. What do you make of, like, modern driving games? Like, I don't know.
I've never played a Gran Turismo after 4, so I can't comment on that because I've never had hardware to do it. But I love Forza.
I mean, did it come? I'm sure. Did you not have Gran Turismo 5 on the PlayStation 3, and then it became Forza? Was that how it kind of worked?
Gran Turismo. Well, yeah, Turismo is because it's Sony Polyphony, isn't it?
Yeah,
Entertainment. So
yeah.
yeah, so literally Microsoft like shit. We need a Gran Turismo.
Oh, of course, I that.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah,
And
that
then
that
and
was
then they
there.
did
That
that
was,
one thing which everyone like is it's a contentious point, but I think it's fantastic, which is putting the rewind feature in. Chef's kiss right there. Because why should you do a 15 lap race and it's neck and neck and you make one tiny little mistake on the last fucking.
uh,
Plus, also, it
yeah.
depends on how far you could rewind it because you couldn't rewind it that far, so it didn't really give you that much of an advantage, and you just kept rewinding it and rewinding it and rewinding it. Just
Before the crash. So was that the Microsoft one? Was it? Was that?
yeah. I forget what it is. I'm
Aye.
assuming it's a Microsoft Studio. I've got the latest one on my Series S, and that's just car pornography. But
Is that the one you can drive to Edinburgh? I think is
oh
it?
no, that's because that's Horizon. This is there's
Oh,
two lines, isn't there? But
so
every
there
time
is.
I
Aye.
play it, I do always remember Gran Turismo 2, and then always think, I wonder where I'd be now if I went Sony route of consoles. Would I like still be as invested in Gran Turismo as I was? Because I like 3 on the PlayStation.
Mm.
Well, you could argue because they did it to get it out quickly, it was more like Gran Turismo Light because it had what one
Oh,
third
I
of the
remember
cars,
that. Yeah,
but it looked
yeah.
phenomenal. And 4 was a little bit but 2 was just like it was just one of those
Pinnacle.
things. And it also, like you said,
Aye.
it moved gaming forward. Like you wouldn't have Forza, you wouldn't have
Oh, yeah, yeah,
stuff like the Crew. You wouldn't. Well, you'd still be in arcade races.
yeah, yeah. So when what was the last Gran Turismo then? Was it 5?
No, it's 7.
So
Which
is it still out? Is it still a franchise that they make?
yeah, I think
Oh,
seven's
is
the
it?
one where they did the dick move where they sent review copies to everyone. Everyone said this is absolutely amazing, blah 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 blah. And then the minute it went live, they released a patch that meant you could no longer grind within the game, or you could, but you'd never make enough money out of it. So therefore, if you wanted big cars, decent cars, you'd have to
It's
use
fucking
real
buy them.
money.
Bollocks to that.
And also, if the server goes down, you can't play it because it went down at the start, didn't it? But
Really?
then,
Yeah.
when my Xbox Series S wouldn't talk to the internet, and I tried to play Forza Motorsport, I hate when they do that. They give it the original name of the first game instead of giving it the required number, if you know what I mean. Yeah. When my Xbox Series S, because of British Telecom dicking around, wouldn't talk to the internet, and I turned it on, I suddenly realised, which it goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, you can't carry on in your career mode." What? It goes, but it did do something that was kind of cool. It goes, however, to offset that fact, you can now drive any car you want on any track. Oh, all right, but I didn't know. I mean, I thought you got a big trouble for Forza Horizon, so you said you weren't going to do this. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
by
a,
the
that's a
way.
whole new can of worms. I mean, I can't remember who it was. One person that was on the Nice and Nasty actually picked Doom as a game they would eradicate, not because Doom was a bad game, because it set the whole online thing, multiplayer online thing, in which he hated. So I kind of get
Yeah,
that, and yeah,
I
obviously
could kind of get that.
having to have an internet connection to play a game, even when there's a one-player option, is a complete and utter bollocks. But anyway, that's for another day. So there you go. You've had your 3
But
games.
yeah, I'm sorry I was in PlayStation Town for all of them, and I know 2
No,
are very
no, not
similar,
at
but
all. That's entirely your prerogative.
that would be one of
Um,
my greatest gaming moments in time. Would be that chunk of PlayStation time. I think that. I mean, look how
yeah,
why it was so. That console nailed it, and there was just a period of time where it was just banger after banger after banger.
yeah. Couldn't do any wrong. Obviously, as time went on, it started to get a bit, bringing out sort of sequels and that kind of thing. But anyway, not 3 fantastic games. Quite surprised there's not any arcade type games. But then again, you're a kind of slightly younger than myself. But you know what? Yep, all good, all good. Now we're going to have to get a wee bit down and dirty. Pick 3 games for whatever reason should never have been made. A game that you bought, you thought was utter shit. You hate the type, you hate the mechanics of the game. It was just way too short. Whatever reason, you can pick 3 games that should never exist. So, game number 1, what's it going to be?
Mario 64. I know a bunch of people are going to be. I told you when you said,
Well, actually, this is interesting. Panther, who picked Metal Gear Solid as one of his favourite games. It might, I don't know if it was the first one, but he certainly picked Metal Gear Solid his top 3. He also picked Mario 64 as a game that should never have been invented. And the reason that he picked was because he goes, there was fuck all in it. He goes, it's empty.
I like this, man.
You'll need to watch that. You'll need to watch them.
I'm gonna have to watch
anyway,
it.
yeah, Mario 64. Yeah, you've probably upset a lot of people. What, anything in particular that you didn't like in the game? I mean, it's supposedly the landmark C64 game.
This is it. Right.
Sorry, N64, not C64. Christ.
No, because I prefer the C64. It's got a better version of Mario on it. It's got something that I like to call the Game of Thrones effect about it. Or you could argue that this gave that to Game of Thrones, which we'll get to that in a moment. I have to say disclaimer before everyone goes like, oh my god, you chose Mario 64. Right. My brother had an N64. I was still in PlayStation time, but he let me play it loads and loads and loads and loads. But I don't, take away, I do not underestimate the importance this game had from transferring platforming from 2D to 3D. I do not, I'm not ignoring the importance it had of that and how it was a game changer in that area. But, first of all, Panther was right. Why does everyone go on about it? This is fucking amazing. This is, oh my god, I'm doing so much stuff. I'm doing so much amazing shit. And it's like, you do more platforming in one level of 2D Mario than you do in a fucking stage in this. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's so open. I mean, obviously there are bits that aren't, but my experience when I played it was just why I was just like, nah. My brother's like, you can play this if you want. Nah. Go see it selling on TV. It was like large chunks. It was just like, I'm walking around. Haven't seen a bad guy for absolutely ages. Oh, look, there's another one right away in the distance there. How am I going to get up there? Oh, look, there's one floating, moving platform. And it was just like, why is it everyone... And I think it was because all the magazines and all the like TV shows and stuff would just go, Mario 64 will fucking change your life. This is phenomenal. This is what I mean about the Games of Thrones effect, which is why I've never watched that, because all my mates said, this is the greatest thing in the world ever. You have to watch it. It's just nothing else on TV comes close to it. Yeah. And so it's like, I watched one and it was like, what were you watching? And it's, so every magazine was like, look at this, no other console can touch this, blah, 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 blah. And it was, so they hyped the tits off it, which I know you could argue was not its fault, but then you sat down and you played it and you just like, particularly the first stage, which is, I'm in a park with very little to do. And I know you could argue that's right at the start, so maybe like got to get you accustomed to 3D platforming. But I was just like, I don't get it. Why is and I felt at the time, why is everyone going on about how utterly fucking fantastic this game is? And I'm like, all right, well, Mario's 3D. That's quite nice. I haven't seen him in 3D before. I just felt that I don't know. Like, it's difficult to pin down. Like the band that was right, which is like, there's nothing there. I felt like it was just open areas of space with platforming that was, and I know it was in 3D, it was nowhere near as technical, and that you had like to learn the skill of is like obviously Super Mario World and Super Mario Brothers 3, and like if everyone's saying this is the greatest thing in the world, and to me even the graphics weren't particularly fucking amazing. I think most people kind of like the N64, although let's be honest, once you put it on RGB, it's tolerable. But back in the day, with the leads they gave it, the image quality was shit.
Oh, it's awful.
But the only thing people kind of, I think it set it above other stuff. I know it was more powerful than the PlayStation, but why everyone loved it was it did that filter effect on the pixels, didn't it, when you got up close? So it blurred it out a bit. But I just looked at it and just went, where are these graphics that are supposed to slay me in my spot?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I mean, I got caught in the whole kind of Mario 64 hype. I did buy it, and I thought it was a really, really good game. I mean, I never got anywhere near, you'll be surprised to hear this, I never got anywhere near to completing it. I can't remember how far I got. I mean, I got beyond it was probably right at the start of the game. You've got to dive down in the boat and there's like an eel and all this shit. Whatever.
Oh, the swimming mechanics drove me up the fucking wall as well, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it. I mean, the music. It was like something you'd never seen, and I think it possibly was overrated. I think it got all the kudos because it was the first game to kind of take it from 2D. Yeah, when you actually break it down, the first level of Super Mario, whatever it is, you might have to jump over God knows how many baddies. In the first level of that, all you're really doing is you speak to something that comes out a pipe, and then you race. You just run at the top of a hill and beat a turtle, and that's it. That's it. It's very, very. If you were, or put it this way, if you were to retrospectively turn Mario 64 into a platform game, you'd go, "This is absolutely fucking shit. There's nothing."
Yeah.
Run to the right, win. Well, that's the level finished. I think it was the typical fur coat. It was like fur coat, no knickers. Its selling point was the graphics, and look, it's fucking 3D. But there was like fuck all in it. There was really nothing in it.
Yeah.
That said, I did enjoy it. I wouldn't pick it as one of my games, but two people that have picked it can't be wrong.
And like I said, also, just everyone knew, and I know that's stupid, but that's just the thing with me. Like I said, the Game of Thrones effect, which is when everyone loses their shit over something.
Yeah.
I don't want that to shape me, but it's just like, shut up, everyone already.
Aye.
But then you could argue, but I was that guy about Metal Gear, so
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like I said, you're not the first person to pick that game. So there you go. Right, excellent. I mean, do you think that game
it's not held up as well? Yeah. Definitely. I know loads of people now who were like fucking huge fanboys at the time who said, "What's wrong with you, man?" Who are now like, "Yeah, it's not held up, Dave. You're right."
Yeah. I mean, that was probably the first game that I can recall that was like 3D. Then you got Spyro the Dragon on the PlayStation. Then you got, what the hell do you call it? You got
Croc, which was originally going to be a Yoshi game. But they took the license away, so they just...
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they just made it look like Croc and not Yoshi.
What's that bloody raccoon, that thing? You're like a raccoon. What's it called again? It was on the PlayStation. They came out with loads of them. What's it called? No, Spyro.
Oh, I know.
Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot. Yeah. Yeah, that was the PlayStation's Mario 64.
Yeah. But the thing is, it was more fun to play... And it wasn't even as groundbreaking because it was linear. So you never felt like I'm just wandering through a massive amount of fucking open space with nothing to do. It was always like it tunneled you in and there was shit to avoid.
Aye. And there was a lot of things to avoid. But yeah, I mean, I suppose Mario, would Crash Bandicoot have existed if Mario 64 hadn't existed? Probably. It probably would have. I'm sure somebody else should have thought of it. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it was groundbreaking. Has it lived particularly? Has it aged particularly well? Probably not.
I think it's aged well as a tech demo.
Yeah. I mean, I did enjoy it. However, listening to you and Panther talking about it and seeing why it's shit, I do completely get it. Yeah. Anyway, good. Interesting choice number one. So game number 2 of shame. What's it going to be?
Remember when I said I stick to the same system? Only for these two. The third game is on a different system. Spoilers, it's still Nintendo. And to prove that this is not just me like pulling it out of thin air, I did a video years ago on Mario 64 and this being exactly what I'm going to say now. So I can't fucking stand Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. There, everyone, I've said it.
Oh, that was the N64's one, wasn't it? Where it starts off him galloping across some kind of big open landscape.
Yeah. Which is
what
the game is.
Yeah, I'll let you talk about it first.
Right. Again, this comes back to what I said, which is there's only one RPG game I've ever played fully, properly, that you could argue is full RPG, not a game with RPG elements, and that's Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation, which I absolutely love and adore, and probably was at one point going to put in over Gran Turismo 2, but then I thought I can't just put these 3 in, and then I thought, well, no, I did equally play Gran Turismo 2 as much as that, but I love Final Fantasy VII, like stunning story, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, that's what Square did, like through the roof, and it was around at the same time, and obviously it was like loved and recognised as being absolutely fantastic. And people are probably going to say, "Oh, you've just been a PlayStation fanboy," but that to me was an RPG. And again, my brother got Ocarina of Time and said, "Do you want to play it?" And I watched him playing it a couple of times, and I'm like, oh, "What's even going on here? This is like completely kidified." I understand the graphics of the N64, and another example of everyone going like, "This is fucking amazing," and I'm like, "This to me," and I did play a bit of it. I own a near mint copy of it now that I found really cheap in a charity shop, and I have gone back and played quite a lot of it. So obviously, going on what like I said, it felt when it came out was just it felt like an RPG light. Again, everyone going on. It felt incredibly kidified. You had this tech demo of him running at the start on a horse that everyone just went absolutely fucking phenomenal. But then when you actually got into the game, where's the big open spaces? Where are they? And I know that's the limitations of the cartridge. Also, it just and everyone goes, but there's a charm to the way stuff talks in it. I just hate, and they did it. And I hate that fucking like, oh god, it's like someone pushed a finger through my ear into my brain and just moves it around slowly. It's that irritating. But it was just everyone's going on for fucking. Again, this is fucking brilliant. It didn't look that good graphically. All right, it had that filter effect going on, but then the bottom line is it had such a shit output. Like I said on Mario, you probably didn't have to put the filter on. It looked so Vaseline, you wouldn't have noticed it anyway. I just felt it was dull and like, hey, look, I'm fishing. Hey, do you know what I mean? I'm like, well, again, whatever games do people play? Now, obviously, people shout, taste is subjective. I'm very much aware of that. But I just thought, considering this is supposed to be the life-changing game in the world, I think I'll go back to Final Fantasy VII because it just to me is like this is just. I felt like a fucking. I know that's what it is. Fucking child fumbling around in just confined areas with clunky platforming and shit and tasks I really couldn't give a fuck about.
I could sum up what I think of it, and if you had everything you've just said that you had typed as a comment. My comment below would be this with the wee arrow pointing up to it. Everything you've said, it's irritating. It's got these stupid little squared kind of. I mean, it was like the sort of like the early Polygon era, so everything looked completely garbage.
Mario looks better than this.
Yeah, Mario. At least, Mario didn't try to be realistic.
Yeah.
And
it just all the greens and browns, trying to make stuff look like shrubs and shit. I just remember blocks. Everything built out of blocks with green and brown shrubs and roots on it. And you just look and just went, that's the most unattractive colour palette I've ever seen in my life.
And I'm one of these people that if I'm playing whether I'm watching a film or playing a video game, I've got to have some kind of connection with the main character or the thing that you're controlling. If you don't like the person you're controlling or you don't like the main character in a film, then I tend to I don't like the film or the game. And I can put up with like not Mario. I can put up with Zelda on the SNES because
that's it. I have to point out I beat A Link to the Past on the SNES, and it's a fucking phenomenal game.
It's a phenomenal game, yeah. And that's when thinking we could play this in 3D, I think, this is going to be the best thing ever. And as you say, it's if I could sum it up, I just found it irritating, as you say, the incessant little fucking noises instead of having speech, and they've continued to kind of use that, and even like in the new versions on the Switch, they've got that really annoying fucking talking, and it's just like, no, don't just exclude that. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm a fucking 30-year-old man, and this is like a child's toy, and people were raving about it, and I honestly didn't know. I thought, what am I missing? Because I just find this fucking irritating. It looks bad. It doesn't have particularly high frame rate, and it's just annoying. No. It's like Roblox with low res graphics.
And people were making the excuses when the few people at the time, or few magazines at the time, you did say, well, it's got a questionable frame rate, but then the next sentence they would say was, which is to be expected because the limitations of cartridge. That's not my fucking problem. Also, having played it, if you play the last game you played, Zelda, was A Link to the Past. 4 words: devoid of all charm. I so sound like a this video, the PlayStation fanboy right here.
No, not at all. I'm completely with you. I'm completely with you. But yeah, it just again, I think what Nintendo did was they took a franchise which was obviously people loved the SNES Zelda, and they made it into 3D, and people were all over it. But then you got people like us that looked at it and thought, "Fuck it, that is just annoying." It's just I've tried to play it several times, and like I've you can run it in an emulator, and it looks like high res. It still looks like high res fucking shit. It doesn't.
High-res Lego. In fact, no, not even Lego. It looks like the Lego knockoff Roblox.
If anything, it makes it look fucking worse. Maybe no, that's not possible.
Also,
I'm
again
with
simped for it, didn't they?
What's that?
All the magazines at the time completely simped for it. So.
Oh, aye. It was the.
I get it. It was the building blocks again, Mario, and there are 3D Zeldas that I like. I absolutely love Wind Waker. I think Wind Waker is absolutely fantastic. But then Wind Waker's graphics have charm. But there's no doubt that if you look at all the Zeldas, especially the stuff that's been re-released, like on the 3DS and stuff that like on the I forget the one that was on the DS, but all the 2D ones are the ones with the most charm and my favourites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nah, totally get you. And like I says, everything you said about the game, you're taking the words out of my mouth, mate. Okay, right. Well, the last game of shame, what's that going to be?
Super Nintendo, Donkey Kong Country.
I'm sensing that you don't like Nintendo, but yeah.
You know me. Apart from the Switch, I've owned every single Nintendo console.
Yeah. No, listen. I'm intrigued to listen to what you're. I mean, obviously, Donkey Kong Country was written by guys who put out some great games on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
Rare.
It pains me. It pains me to bash a game that has a pedigree that goes all the way back to Ultimate Play the Game. But
yeah.
But I will because apparently I'm the only one who saw this about Donkey Kong Country.
So Donkey Kong Country, yeah. Why is it one of your free games of shame?
I don't get it. Everyone it did. First of all, I don't give a shit. They're like, we're pushing the Super Nintendo because of all the other consoles and stuff and shit like this coming out. And obviously, we're a generation behind. And because wasn't the PlayStation out at this point?
Yeah, it was kind of like the sort of it was like
it was rendered on a CGI station, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. People were. I'm sure they were comparing it with the processors, the computers that did the graphics for Terminator 2 did the graphics for like Donkey Kong Country, and they were coming up with all these fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Again, people simping magazines, but everyone goes like Donkey Kong Country, state of the art. It pushes the SNES beyond other consoles. It makes 32-bit systems like nervous. Fuck off, It's like, and they go like these render graphics are state of the art, rendered on a machine that could fly the fucking space shuttle, like you said, and and it's super amazing platforming. It's probably the best platforming on the system after Super Mario Brothers. Herein lies the problem for me back then. Probably because I was in PlayStation Town, but I'm like, and not judging it from being on a PlayStation, but it didn't look that good. It really didn't. Rendered or not, I just and maybe it was the color palette letting it down, but like everyone goes like, you won't believe the graphics for a 16-bit system. I can believe it. They look like the graphics of a 16-bit system because it's on a 16-bit system and it's rendered. But the power of the hardware means that the rendering means like. It doesn't look like, oh look, you're watching the special effects of a fucking cartoon on like a 3D generated. No, I'm not. It looks clearly like a fucking platforming game on 16-bit Nintendo that doesn't look as good as Super Mario World. Wouldn't you agree? Super Mario World looks better. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island looks far better.
Yeah. Again, I think, I mean, there were obviously, I do remember the hype at the time. People were like, is the SNES dead? I don't think so. Wait till you see this game. It's phenomenal. As you say, they were kind of touting it as the game that's going to give the SNES another 10 years of being able to make games for it.
They got another 3 of these out, didn't they?
Yeah, they managed to. Yeah, I mean, I did go out and buy it. And I thought, it's all right. It didn't blow my tits off. I mean, it's yeah, it was kind of, well, I was going to say similar to Mario 64 and Zelda. It was nothing like them at all. But yeah, they were. It was just they were trying to sell it on the basis of the graphics, but there was very little gameplay in it. I mean, I played it for a time and then kind of got a bit bored, you know.
Yeah, but also the gameplay of it was a very very average platformer mechanically
Yeah,
compared to other platformers on the SNES. But
yeah,
it's like all the magazines
yeah,
were sucked in by the graphics. And these were magazines that normally would, say, well, we put gameplay above graphics. But for some reason, all the magazines and my mates were going like, this looks so good, I could play it forever. And I played it, loads of times. And just went, but it doesn't play nice. It's clunky and frustrating, and there are some horrendously difficult bits in it that are rendered that hard because it's clunky and frustrating. And then you go back to Super Mario World, and you're like, that bit gets like super hard and stuff, but every time you die, you never feel like it wasn't your fault.
yeah. Aye, it was very much
But
style
no
over
one would
substance.
admit that because they just went, it looks like Terminator 2. Shut up, Ed's Magazine. Pull your head out of your ass.
It was. I mean, if you were to do away with the graphics or replace the graphics with like standard 8-bit kind of, digital artwork or sprites, whatever you want to call them, nobody would have given it a second look.
This game plays like shit.
Yeah, it was just it got totally hyped beyond belief, and probably got to a point. It'd actually been interesting to hear these magazines now looking at it, 30 years on. Is it as good as you made out? Because
like I said, the graphics didn't deserve that level of hype.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rare. I love you, but just had to say it. But that's all right, because all was forgiven with GoldenEye. Which was originally a SNES game, wasn't it?
What was the GoldenEye? Really?
Yeah, side-scrolling rail shooter, I think.
Right. Here's an interesting thing: if Donkey Kong was that state of the art, why didn't they bring it out for the PlayStation, or not the PlayStation? Why didn't they bring out? Well, I suppose they did bring out versions for the N64. But no, I think you're right.
The 3D one, didn't they? That was, well, you had to have the expansion pack to run it, didn't you? Because of a bug, not because it. Yeah.
But yeah, what's interesting is the 3 games that you've picked. Yeah, I know they're all by Nintendo. They were almost like proof of concept rather than decent games, and I think, yeah, they were tech demos. Look what you can do. I mean, they were impressive. Oh, fucking hell, that's impressive looking. But did it make a good game? Nah. But I think all the magazines got hoodwinked into the hype. They started to believe the hype. Yeah. Did you actually buy it, or was it your brother that had one, or was it your mate that had?
On his Super Wild card. Do you remember those bad boys?
Where did you buy it? Where did you get the games from? You obviously didn't download them. Where did you?
No, there was allegedly. I don't know how we found. I think it might have been good old Black and White. It might have been sold in the Black and White magazines, saying, and to not incriminate themselves. I think they literally, because if you knew, you knew. They just literally said SNES games for sale. Was it £2 per floppy disk?
Oh, exactly.
And it's like, SNES games on a floppy disk, you say? Huh, but surely you must be confused because the SNES does. Oh. Yeah. I remember playing Art of Fighting on his Super Wild card, and Art of Fighting came on 3 floppy disks.
Did I actually have to load from the floppy disk?
You loaded it all in at once, though.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah.
Once it was loaded, how long did it take to load in the thing then?
About the same as an Amiga.
Oh, right.
But once it was in, it was in.
And then also it kind of flashed the image onto the cartridge sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then when you switch,
and you could put a cartridge in it and reverse engineer it, if you know what I mean.
Aye. And if you switched it off and on, would it instantly load, or can it wipe itself?
It wiped itself.
Right. So it was kind of just put in the memory.
It's like an At Games Mega Drive. You ever played on that? Mega Drive? I only own an At Games Mega Drive because it was £20 in a charity shop. And, it's like I want to see what a car crash looks like, But I was quite surprised that you flashed the ROM to the system with that, don't you?
At least it was
Until you turn it off.
it was only £2 that you lost, I suppose, with the Donkey
Yeah.
Kong
So
one.
remember, it was weird. People would come around.
Yeah.
I mean, I was off my SNES at this point because I was in PlayStation time, but he had a Super Wild Card, and yeah, it was just weird because people would come around the house like to play his SNES, and like if you went around your mate's house and he had an Amiga or an Atari ST, and he'd have the plastic container with the metal lock on the front, which was irrelevant because the thing was made out of the most brittle plastic ever, and you'd have all your floppies in there. Everyone found it really weird that my brother had a SNES, and he had one of those things from an Amiga with all his games in there on multicolored discs.
Yeah, like the lock was going to stop somebody from nicking it. You just nick the whole fucking box.
I think my brother, when he had his ST, all I'd do is go to the end because you could pry. It had two circular hinges at the back on either side, didn't it? And you could put your nails under it and pull it, and then just lift it up that way.
Aye, it's interesting. Kids now see a floppy disk and think, "Why did you 3D print a save icon?"
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Dad, this is a really weird beer, Matt.
Listen, mate. That's yep. I'm going to try and remember your choices. You had Resident Evil 2, you had Metal Gear Solid, and you had Gran Turismo 2 is the best game. The games you take to your island, and the 3 Game of Shames was Zelda, whatever the hell it was called, Ocarina of Time on the N64, Mario 64, and Donkey Kong Country on the SNES. These are your games of shame. Yep. You should listen to Panthers just to get his kind of take on the whole Mario 64. Listen, mate, it's been a privilege and a pleasure to have you on the channel as always. Don't be a stranger.
I will not, sir.
You won't. Yep.
We should do a Friday waffle again sometime. It's been a few
Anytime.
years since we've done
Yeah, well,
waffle.
obviously, I know circumstances have changed a wee bit, so you can come on any time at all. So listen, I'm going to wrap this up. So thanks, Dave, for taking time. I'm sure folk are going to enjoy this. And finally, folks, as always, thank you very, very much for listening.